Okay, just real quickly, I am taking a look at Hebrews 9:22. I'm using the LEB Bible, the Lexham English Bible. It's with the Logos software. Also free on a lot of different Bible apps. Okay, Hebrews 9:22. Indeed, nearly everything is purified with blood according to the law, and apart from the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. Now, I'm purposely just reading this verse out of context. A lot of people throw this verse out like a soundbite by itself. So I'm not going to give the surrounding context immediately. I'm interested in the word āφεσις, which is being translated as forgiveness here. Here's what's interesting about it is this word a kind of juridical forensic? I want you to think like a courtroom setting, something like this, or even like a relational, like there's a relational disruption, whatever, some kind of problem, so we need some kind of relational mediatorial action. Is that the semantic domain of this word āφεσις, forgiveness, or is it the only semantic range of this word? And I'm curious because it's often associated with blood sacrifice. This is not the only place. Yeshua will say, I'm shedding my blood for the forgiveness of sins, and it's the same idea. I'm curious though about a word, or the word āφεσις, as it occurs in the LXX, the Greek Old Testament. So let me take a peek here. Yeah, so we could, I think of great interest is going to be its occurrence in Exodus, and in Leviticus. It talks about the cleansing of the elements and this kind of thing. And the word āφεσις occurs in Exodus 18:2. Jethro, the father-in-law of Moses, took Zipporah, the wife of Moses, after her dismissal, when Moses dismissed her. So Moses dismissing his wife Zipporah, dismissal, that's the word āφεσις. Would we translate that as forgiveness? It'd be weird to translate it as forgiveness. Exodus 23:11. But in the 7th year you will make a rest and leave it unplowed, and your needy people will eat, and the wild animals will eat the remainder. Thus you will do with respect to your vineyard and your olive grove. This is talking about, I'm pretty sure it's talking about the 7th-year Shabbat, this idea of letting your land rest. But the word there in the Greek Old Testament for you will make a rest and leave it unplowed, referring to the land. The rest, the word being translated rest in the Lexham English Septuagint is actually āφεσις. Tode ebdemo āφεσιν, pieces, which I read Greek with a modern Greek pronunciation, not that Erasmian crap. So Leviticus 16:26, and the person who sends out that he-goat that was set apart for release. So in this sense, we have it's the goat for Azazel is for Azazel. It's not a blood sacrifice, but this word āφεσις occurs, and it is it's actually like just a release. Leviticus 25:10, and this one's interesting. And sanctify the year, the 50th year, proclaim loudly a release. Here it's translated time of release. It's like a time of release concerning the land to all those inhabiting it. A year of remission. That word, it's this idea. It's coming from āφεσις. It's the idea of remitting, or kind of like sending out, dismissing, sending away, being remitted. Again, it's most often used in Leviticus for remission in the Jubilee. Let's see. Yeah, it most is often used in the time of Jubilee in terms of its occurrences in Leviticus. Quite a few. It has 120. Let's see here. We've got in the New Testament and the Greek Old Testament, we've got 123 occurrences of the word. Again, Deuteronomy, when we get to Numbers, it's remission. Deuteronomy, it's remission. Yeah. So in other words, here's part of what I want to touch on. In Hebrews 9:22, people throw it out like a soundbite. Indeed, nearly everything is purified with blood according to the law, and apart from the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. What they do though, by translating the word ephesis there as forgiveness, they're kind of bringing in flavors of you've screwed up juridically or criminally or forensically, and you can't be forgiven for your juridical screw up. But that is actually eisegesis. You're bringing something to the text that's not there. I'll read the surrounding verses. And when every commandment, I'm going to start in 19, Hebrews 9:19, and then I'm going to read through 20, maybe 26, because it's a sentence, a real long sentence. All right, Hebrews 9:19. For when every commandment had been spoken by Moses to all the people according to the Torah or law, he took the blood of calves with water and scarlet wool and hyssop and sprinkled both the scroll itself and all the people, saying, this is the blood of the covenant that God has commanded for you. And likewise, he sprinkled both the tabernacle and all the utensils of service with blood. That's the direct verse surrounding it. And likewise, he sprinkled both the tabernacle and all the utensils of service with the blood. Indeed, so we're going to pick up off of 21, he's sprinkling a tabernacle, utensils of service. Indeed, nearly everything, what's interesting is it doesn't say everyone, nearly everything is purified with blood according to the law. And then we get this clause. And apart from the shedding of blood, there is no, here translated forgiveness. It's quite possible that we should translate that remission or removal. There's no removal of it. And that makes a little more sense, because if you say it's forensic and moral and legal, then it would kind of lead to a kind of a, if that's the semantic domain of this word here, or if that's what we should pull from to translate it, then it kind of leads to nonsense, because it would mean that the tabernacle is guilty of some kind of moral or juridical kind of infraction, or that it sinned, and we're not going to forgive the tabernacle unless there's blood. It's like, whoa, that's weird. It means remission. It means remission or removal, the taking away of it. And here's what's interesting. The verses that follow don't help the cause of people who try to say that it's moral forgiveness. So 23, moving on. Therefore, it was necessary for the sketches of the things in heaven to be purified. Notice the word therefore. Okay, it's a logical connection. So you really can't divorce what's following from what we get in 22. Therefore, it was necessary for the sketches of the things in heaven to be purified with these sacrifices, but the heavenly things themselves to be purified with better sacrifices than these. The heavens had to be purified by the blood of the Messiah in Hebrews 9. Think about that. The heavens had to be purified. Most people, when I hear them talk about forgiveness or atonement or whatever, I've never heard a satisfactory answer for people who say that the atonement is entirely about juridical misbehavior or something like this, and the wrath of God needs to be ameliorated or appeased or satisfied is typically the word that people use. I've never heard them give a satisfactory answer. What do we do with verse 24? For Christ did not enter into a sanctuary made by hands, a mere copy of the true one, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God on our behalf. I'm sorry, verse 23. I've never heard anyone give a satisfactory answer for the idea that the heavenly things needing to be purified. The heavenly things need to be purified with these sacrifices, or with better sacrifices than these. Why do they need to be purified? That's an interesting idea. Well, if you insist on eisegeting moral misbehavior, it will lead to contradictions, and it makes it confusing. One of the things I'm always suspicious of is, am I confused because I'm bringing something in the text wasn't talking about? A lot of times, the actual thing the text is getting at is a lot simpler than I'm making it, because I'm trying to make the text talk to scenarios and contexts it wasn't originally addressing. In this scenario, if purification has some kind of moral misbehavior or infraction, this kind of dimension of misbehavior, then it does lead to contradictions. But if it's talking about purifying in the sense of preparing a space so that God can fill it, so that God can inhabit it and share the space, well, then it makes good sense, because it goes all the way, then we have like an unending line all the way down through Leviticus. Their atonement, for example, purification doesn't have to do, that is not simply explained by you did bad moral no-nos and somebody's got to pay. That's not how it works in the Torah. And I don't think that's how it works in verse 22 and in verse 23 and in verse 24. So just putting it out there. Love you guys. Bless you.